Now, we all agree this is now in first normal form. This is where we'll normally start. But now we want to see how to make a table into second normal form. This is where we'll get to be really breaking up into different tables, and this is really where we want to start. So we have to look to see, the rule is if you have any partial dependencies, then you need to, that means you're violating second normal form and you need to make another table. So what do we have here? Well, let's first find our functional dependencies. Well, first let's find our primary key. That always helps us. Our primary key is not going to be client number. You can see that there's a CR76 with PG4, CR76 with PG16, and actually client number does not functionally determine everything because CR76 is sometimes PG4, sometimes it's PG16. So what is our primary key? If you look here, client number alone doesn't work. Client name doesn't work. Property number doesn't work. What is unique here? So in this case, it's a composite primary key with client number and property number. Every client of CR76 PG4, that is always unique. It's always going to be John K. It's always going to be July 7. It's always going to be, it's unique. There's no case of CR76 and PG4 anywhere else. There's no case of CR56 and PG4 anywhere else. That's what makes it unique. So that's the primary key. So we know by definition it already functionally determines everything. Everything's going to be unique. So client number and property number is our primary key. It also functionally determines every other attribute. Now, if client number and property number functionally determines everything, one of the things it functionally determines is owner number. It also functionally determines owner name. It also functionally determines client name. So for a partial functional dependency, if we want to find those, we have to remove one thing. So we need to remove property number or client number and see if anything still holds. So the question is, does property number alone functionally determine anything? Does client number alone functionally determine anything? Because we know together they functionally determine everything, but alone do they functionally determine anything? So client number alone, automatically looking at it, I can see it functionally determines client name. Every time I see CR76, it's John K. Every time I see CR56, it's Aline Stewart. So while client number and property number functionally determines client name, client number alone functionally determines client name. That means it violates second normal form. And how do we fix it? We need to both move over client name. What's on the right hand side gets moved over, and the left hand side. So our arrow is, if you think about it, the arrow is, it looks like client number with the client number and property number with the arrow functionally determines client name, but client number alone, arrow client name. So client name gets moved over to another table and client number gets copied over to another table. So we'll have another table, which is probably called client information, whatever we want to call it, client, and that has client number and client name. Client number is copied, so name is moved and number is still here, and that's going to be the link. And how do we know that also? Because that's redundancy. Why should I list John K's name 2 times and Aline Stewart 3 times? So that's why it violated second normal form and it needs to get moved out.